Boy, now I kind of wish Jameis Winston wasn't suspended. I don't know if famous Jameis is putting up numbers like this the first 2 weeks in Tampa Bay. Boy, they're happy to have Ryan Fitzpatrick there now, huh? As their backup. Do kind of wonder what's going to happen if Fitzmagic keeps putting up numbers like this when Winston's ready to come back. That's interesting. Well, that's a problem for them. But anyhow, yeah, as we know, Eagles go down to defeat for the first time in quite a while. Uh, um, 27-21 to Tampa Bay in week 2. I think I thought it was funny that, looking back at last season in week 2, the Eagles lost at Kansas City to go 1-1 on the season. We know what happened the rest of the way that year. So not saying it'll be the same, story this season, but you just have to harken back to a year ago when this team was 1-1, and I know it was a different situation and everything, but they went on to roll, pretty much throughout most of the rest of that season, winning all but 2 games the rest of the way and capturing Super Bowl 52. But again, different situation, different team. Uh, I know I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but or a broken playlist, I guess would be the more appropriate word for these days, anyhow. Um, but uh, I've said this numerous times, and I'll continue to say it. The Eagles will get their opponent's best performance every week. Does that mean that their opponent is going to put up big numbers and have double digit leads throughout the portions of the game? No. But it means that the Eagles have to be ready. I mean, look, it's a different it's new ground for them this year as defending Super Bowl champs. It's the first time that a lot of guys on this team has had that. Now there are players on this team that have that know what it is to be a defending Super Bowl champion. Playing on other teams, winning Super Bowls, and then the following season, what happens? It is a very difficult thing to repeat. It's one of the hardest things to do because particularly in football, because you're going to get everyone's best every week, and it's a shorter season. It's a 16-game season, and if the injuries happen, I know this team had injuries last season, and they overcame them. They overcame some huge injuries last season, injuries that would derail how many other teams' seasons. The Eagles were able to overcome that, but you can't keep going back to the well every season. Eventually you do want to have guys healthy, key guys on the team. And again, all due respect to Nick Foles. I mean, Super Bowl 52 MVP. No one will ever in their life be able to take that away from him. He accomplished that. He dueled with Tom Brady and he won. He won Super Bowl 52 and he won a Super Bowl MVP award. He will always have that in history, in the history of the NFL. But Nick Foles does have, in the long term, throughout a season, he does have his shortcomings. He's not a franchise quarterback. It's not diminishing what he did last season in no way, shape, or form. It's not diminishing him. I think he's overcome a lot in his career, through ups and downs, peaks and valleys, to do what he did last season. But Nick Foles is not a franchise quarterback. When you look at big picture, when you look at him throughout a season, he's just not that. Carson Wentz is. Now, the Eagles, it's still up in the air whether Carson's going to play, come back next week or if it's going to be down, further down the road. I would hope that they won't just rush him. I don't feel that they will just rush him back because they lost this game to Tampa. I think that they are going to do the right thing and play this smart and bring him back when he is medically cleared and ready to come back. Because the last thing you want to do is derail the guy's promising young career. I mean, this guy, from what we saw out of him so far, is one of the special ones. And the last thing you want to do is jeopardize his career. Because if you jeopardize his career, you jeopardize the fate of the franchise for the next decade plus to come. Okay? Because number 11 could be your guy, as long as he stays healthy, under center for the next decade. He's one of those special quarterbacks, and you got to take care of him. Now, if he's medically cleared to play, if he's ready to go next Sunday against the Colts, that's fine. You put him out there. But if not, you don't just rush him back because they lost one game to Tampa Bay. Again, big picture. Looking forward, what does this team want to do going forward? Win multiple Super Bowl championships. And to do that, yeah, you need the franchise quarterback. And you obviously need other things in place. But they are fortunate to be one of those teams in the league. And he has to stay healthy, of course. But that has that young star franchise quarterback. And you have that. You have the coach. You have the other parts in place. You're going to win a lot of games. You're going to be playing for that Lombardi trophy that we so coveted for all those years and we finally got last year. You're going to be playing for that, how many years? But let's get back to, the now, okay, the week 2, post-game talk about this game. So the Eagles go down to Tampa 27-20, 27-21, right? 27-20. So they fall to 1-1 on the season with this loss. And there were things to take away from this game. There obviously were. Listen, there's been a lot of injuries, and we're not using that as an excuse because this team obviously fought through it last season. There's plenty of other teams in the league that have injuries. They don't use it as an excuse. They played Tampa today. Tampa was out there for their starting 2 corners. And their starting quarterback who was on, suspension. So they were without, pieces on their team. And I'm fighting it tonight, man. I'm exhausted. And all of a sudden, I just feel like I got a little, cold or something coming on. I don't know, but I'm going to tough it out. Get through this vid. So injuries, you can't just say, hey, if we had this guy, that guy, things could have been different. Maybe it could have been, but who knows? I mean, if we would have won the game, the Tampa fans would have pointed to the fact that they were without their 2 starting corners and their quarterback. The starting quarterback on suspension. So it goes both ways. That being said, I do think this was an opportunity lost today. You're not, unless you're the 72 Dolphins, you're not going to go undefeated. Even in your best years, you're going to have a loss. Even the Patriots don't go 16-0 every year. They did one year, and then they lost in the Super Bowl. But they don't go 16-0 every year, and they've been a dynasty for a long time. You're going to have losses. Now, there's reasons for those losses. And one of the reasons why this team lost this game tonight is because they came into this game unprepared. When they made their run last year, and they were going through the season, yeah, they had tremendous talent. Even with the injuries, they still had a lot of talent. They had a lot of leadership. They had a coaching staff that was aggressive, that called the right plays at the right times. But they were also prepared. This team out-prepared their competition week in and week out. They were ready for whatever their opponent was going to throw at them. They schemed better than any other team in the league, and that's one of the big reasons why they walked away with Super Bowl 52. I mean, they kept the pedal to the metal against the Patriots. Yeah, they didn't stop them that much until late in the fourth quarter when Brandon Graham got the strip sack. But they still prepared for that Super Bowl, for that team. They prepared for their opponent. They went into that game knowing that the Patriots, there's nothing the Patriots are going to try to do that they're not ready for. And they're going to catch the Patriots off guard in this phase and that phase. And that's what they did. That's why they were able to win Super Bowl, to get to the Super Bowl and then win Super Bowl 52. Sure, they had the Philly special play. They did these other little, the 4th down conversions, and, things worked. but they were able. Coach Peterson and the coaching staff was able to out scheme their opponent for most of the season. All their wins, and most of those wins were in blowout fashion. They were prepared every week. I don't think they were prepared today rather, in Tampa. I don't. I think they came into this game figuring that they can sleepwalk through it. Tampa Bay has these injuries. It's in Tampa. It's hot. It's not the greatest home field advantage. No disrespect to the Tampa Bay fans and the Tampa Bay, Buccaneer vloggers here on YouTube. Real Talk Perez and company. I know they do a great job, and he's certainly a loyal fan. Through thick and thin. But I just, there's going to be a game every now and then that the team comes in, particularly a team that's a defending champion, is going to come in feeling that they just have to walk into the stadium and they're going to get a win. And that's not the case. I mean, I look at how this game played out. Tampa Bay in the first half, they got most of their points in the first half when they went up 21-7, and they took that lead in halftime, Jake Elliott missing a field goal, which could have made it 21-10, or I'm sorry, 20 points in the first half. See, I'm just a little out of it right now. So it would have made it a 20-10 game at half, but of course he misses the field goal. It's still 20-7 at that time. But they built up a 20-7 because they missed that extra point. They built up a 20-7 halftime lead, and part of that reason, you take a look at what Tampa did in that first half. The first play of the game, now a week ago what the Bucs did to the Saints in New Orleans. And going into the week, I said, well, it was week one, it was a fast track in a dome. The Saints, I mean, they're not, they're a very good team, but they themselves get off the slow starts on seasons. It's just one of those things. It's a divisional opponent. You're up for them. You're on the road, I know, but, there was a lot of little factors that I just felt, maybe looking at it through green-colored glasses maybe, but me thinking it that way. Well, obviously, I was wrong. Because the very first offensive play of the game for the Bucs is a 75-yard bomb, Fitzpatrick to Djax. And I said in my pre-game video, one of the things I thought would be a win for the Eagles in this game would be their defensive line versus the Bucs offensive line. That they would be able to put pressure on Fitzpatrick and, prevent some of these, big bomb plays that are timing-type plays that take time to develop. Well, obviously, that went out the window on the first play. And by the way, our old friend, Djax, I saw a stat after the game, is now 5-1 in games played against the Eagles, whether it's with the Redskins or Tampa. 5-1. Yet another reason why Chip Kelly's an idiot. But anyhow, that being said, so the first play of the game, they set the tone. They went deep. And what happened the rest of the way? Now, some of this falls on Jim Schwartz. Okay, and I said before in the pregame vid, I said this is not a blitz-happy defense. This is a defense that blitzes a lot. And I feel today, they should have blitzed a little more than they did. And I understand the reasons why the coverage was why it was, because you don't want to get burned on a deep ball. Well, Djax is their speed receiver. I mean, Evans is a great receiver. He's not an overly fast receiver. I mean, their deep threat is Deshaun Jackson. And if you can roll a safety to him, and coverage to him to kind of, try to neutralize that speed a bit. And I know it didn't really work on the first play. I mean, you never really saw Malcolm Jenkins on that play. But still, you get a little extra help on that side. You could run different, defensive schemes at the Buccaneers and maybe have a little more success than what they did. I mean, a lot of this soft coverage. And I know the Eagles play this defense that, you see this week in and week out. You see the soft coverage. You see all these little cushions, that they give these receivers. And part of it is because their defensive line usually is really good at getting pressure on the quarterback. Well, that wasn't the case today. And when that wasn't the case today, they got 2 sacks. Okay, they were out-sacked 3-2. It wasn't a big sack game for either defense, But the Eagles' defensive line was not able to neutralize those type of, those conversions. Pass after pass after. I mean, Fitzpatrick was just, he was slinging it all. He had another good game. I mean, take nothing away from what he did. First quarterback in the history of the league to have back-to-back games of 400 yards plus passing and 4 touchdowns. First quarterback ever in the history of the league to do that. And you tip the hat to him. He had another great game. He did. Their offense rolled. Okay, but part of that reason is because of the coverages that the Eagles are throwing out there. You're giving him the receivers are giving way too much space to make plays. And I'm not saying the whole game just, jam them at the line, because, then you're going to get burned. But you got to cover a little better than what they were doing. Particularly in the fact where they're not blitzing a whole lot. So where's the coverages? Where are the linebackers? Where are the safeties? There just wasn't enough coverage. They were being too soft on the outsides, giving too much space to Evans and whoever else. Take your pick. Easy catches. And that's part of the reason why they were getting burnt. And then obviously the tackling was a bit of an issue. I mean, the O.J. Howard run. I mean, I'm sorry, that just brought up some memories of Joe Jurevicius. And I just, I started just looking at this. Now Jurevicius didn't score on that play where Howard did, but it was just like, not again. Here comes a Buccaneer, big receiver making a play like that. Like, oh no. Look, it was a sloppy game for the first half, I will say, for the defense. Now, they were able to make some plays. They got an interception. They caused a fumble on Evans in the second half. But even on that play and on that, the Bucs were driving the ball. I mean, the Eagles were very fortunate that they were able to make that play and take the ball away from them. Otherwise, it would have been more points, more than likely, on that drive. And a great play by Malcolm Jenkins, who was burned on the D-Jacks, touchdown earlier, and on the O.J. Howard touchdown, he was being, pretty much manhandled by that receiver, getting blocked out of the way for Howard to just continue to go down the sidelines and for the touchdown. So he makes a play, defensive captain. That's the type of thing you expect from Jenkins. He comes up, he pokes the ball away from Evans and causes a big fumble in the second half. But just not enough. Not enough pressure against Fitzpatrick. And I know he was getting rid of the ball quick and whatnot. But the receivers were given everything they wanted. It really was a coverage that they should have adjusted. They should have done better as the game went on. Now, look, the Bucs only scored 7 points in the second half. They got 20 points in the first half. They only got 7 in the second half. And the defense played a bit better. But that being said, the damage had already been done. Now, when you look at this offense, look, I'm not making any excuses, okay? But you have a lot of backups in there. And you're going to have games like this. And even with that, they still had a chance, okay? Because, the offense started doing their thing. They were scoring some points. I do question on that possession where they scored the touchdown to Nelson Aguilar on a beautiful pass by Foles at the corner of the back of the end zone there. But 3 straight runs, when it's time consuming, you're up against it with about I think at the time, what was it, like 3 minutes and some change, maybe close to 4 minutes to go, and they hand the ball off 3 straight times. And I know that one of those plays was a great effort play by Pierre Paul on the ground, wrapping up Jay Ajayi's foot, knocking not letting him go in for that touchdown. But still, 3 straight handoffs. Why not take a shot at the end zone with a pass? Worst comes to worst. Now, you don't want to get an interception there, but if it's an incomplete pass, the clock stops. On a run, the clock's going to continue to run, and it's like they wasted almost a minute, maybe more than a minute and change on that possession there on the 3 straight handoffs. It was almost like reminiscent of Andy Reid there. And I know Doug comes from the Andy Reid tree. We haven't seen a lot of Andy Reid-isms by Doug, but that on that, those 3, handoffs, and I'm going, Okay, well now you got to throw on fourth down. I mean, and yeah, the averages, and it was a great throw by Nick. It was a great catch by Aguilar, but it was like the play calling before that. It's like, well, why aren't you just try? I mean, you got Zach Ertz, you got some big, you got some targets there. Why not take a shot at the end zone there instead of just handing the ball off 3 straight times and wasting the clock? Because you're still down 2 scores. You need to be able to get the ball again and have a chance. And as it was, they got the ball, but it was at that point it was basically the Harlem Globetrotter type plays. Like, okay, well, we've seen teams try that against the Eagles at ends of games last year, and how well that worked for those teams. So it's like, okay, this is basically it. You take a look at the last possession for Tampa offensively. Before that, before the punt, the Eagles had the ball deep in their own end. Deshaun Jackson 16-yard catch, okay, on second down, I believe. Then you convert a third down where Jalen Mills is holding on the play, and it doesn't matter because Evans still makes the catch. He gets the first down. Again, a wasted opportunity. You could have stopped him on third down and got the ball back with more of a realistic chance of maybe moving the ball down the field, and you're down 6. So if you score a touchdown and Elliott makes the extra point, you win the game. But instead, we know what happened. They now, because of the penalty, it stopped the clock with 20 seconds to go, I believe, before the 2-minute warning. But then the 2-minute warning, and they were able to get the ball back, but it was really chuck and pray time at that point. So that possession right there for Tampa, 2 mistakes by the Eagles' defense. The first is laying again on Deshaun Jackson get wide open down the sideline, and the second is giving up the penalty, but also giving up that third down play on a pass. And look, against the run, they were stout. They're going to be stout just about every week against the run. But I will say this about the defensive line. I'm disappointed in them today. Because, and I know they've had, Fletcher Cox got banged up there for a bit. But, look, we talk about this defensive line. Me, as an Eagles fan, I say this defensive line is the best defensive line in the game. But me saying that and us going this, and then we have a game like this, where they give up 400-plus yards to Ryan Fitzmagic, and they're giving up 4 touchdowns and 2 sacks. I mean, it throws eggs on our face. It throws eggs on their face. They won't. Again, you walk the walk, you talk the talk. If you're going to come in there saying we're this big bad defensive line, and look, you're going to have games. You're not just going to be dominant all the time, okay? But if you're going to go into these games and saying we're the Super Bowl champs, and a big reason why is how we played on this defensive line, and we got this rotation, and we got this, and we got that, then you better damn well show up. And games like this where you're playing, and I will say this, we'll see about Tampa the rest of the season. They could be this great team that wins, 14 games this year, and but on paper, going into this game, that is an inferior offensive line against this D-line. You should be able to put more pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I know he's a veteran. He's been around the league for a long time, 7 different teams. It's hard to fool him on defense. He's a veteran. But you should be able to put more pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick. You should be able to get more sacks. You should be able to get to him. Make him uncomfortable. I know he's getting rid of the ball quick, but make him uncomfortable back there. I mean, he's just out there slinging the ball around, no problem, no defense in front of him for a good portion of the game. And these are the type of games when your offense is struggling coming into this game, you have some weapons out. You got to step up that much further, and you got to put that pressure on the opposing quarterback. You're going to be this big bad defensive line. You got to show up. And these are the type of games you got to show up. You can't, and I know it's not a nationally televised game like last Thursday night and everything, where you're not even playing a divisional opponent or some big opponent like the Patriots or something this week. But you got to step up. You got to make these plays. You got to set the tone and not let your opponent set the tone on the first play of the game, a bomb to Deshaun Jackson. And where have we seen that one before? It seems D-Jax is good for at least a touchdown against us every game we play him, right? And it's usually a play like that. It's like, and Jalen Mills again getting beat on a double move. I mean, where have we seen that before? There's two things we know every year. Taxes and Jalen Mills getting beat every week on a double move. It happens every week, And now you got T.Y. Hilton this week coming up. Okay, you don't think the Colts are going to throw a few of those routes at him? Andrew Luck, he likes to throw that ball around. You got T.Y. there. Well, there you go. Goodness. Listen, today's game was disappointing because I just don't feel the Eagles were prepared enough for this one. And maybe they had to have a game like this where you're punched in the face. Have like one of these wake up calls. Because guess what? Next week you play the Colts, you're going to get their A game. When you go to Tennessee to play the Titans, you're getting their A game. When you're going up against you're going against Carolina this season. You're going at the Rams. You're going, of course, all the division games. Jacksonville and in London. There's some big opponents, good defenses, and teams that are going to use you because you are the defending Super Bowl champs. You are the gold standard right now going into this season. All right, finally, I know. But you're going to get everyone's best game. And again, does that mean that their game plan is going to work perfect every week? No. But you're going to get their effort every week. You have to be ready for it, whether you're playing a divisional opponent, whether you're playing a team in the NFC, like they're playing the Vikings, they're playing the Rams, they're playing the Panthers, playoff contending type teams. You're certainly going to get their best games. In the Vikings case, it's going to be a revenge type situation. Okay, so you're going to see them. You're going to be playing some other good teams like Jacksonville, who beat the Patriots today. You're going to see good teams. You're going to get their best effort, but you're also going to get the best effort of every other team you play, whether it's a team with playoff aspirations or not. They're playing the defending champs. They're going to be up for the game. So you got to match that effort plus some. You got to, I hate to say get back to what got them there last season, but get back to what got them there that season. It's hard, I know, when you win a championship. You have that big chip on your shoulder when you didn't do. I'm not talking about Chip Kelly. I'm talking about the proverbial chip on your shoulder when you haven't done it. Everyone's saying, oh, this and that about you. Haven't done it yet. How are you going to beat this team? How are you going to do that with all the injuries? I get it. It's hard the following season to match that. It's almost impossible to do it because that's a different situation. But you have got to be ready to play these games every week, regardless of what the situation is, who's in the lineup, who's not in the lineup. And I hope that Carson Wentz comes back soon, and Alshon Jeffrey and Darren Sproles, and I hope that Jason Peters' injury today is in the long lingering thing, because they are key components to this team, and to be without them for a prolonged period of time, it's a tough thing. And speaking on that, and I want to touch on this because it's a hot topic, and it's something that I certainly hope they do, because I thought it would, if he was going to be a free agent in the offseason, I was hoping the Eagles would go after him. I speak of Josh Gordon, and I know that he's had this history and all this, but he's a talent. And I look at this team right now, and I look at the wide receivers, and I know Alshon will be back, okay? But even when he's back, I still look at this receiving core, and I look over at Mike Wallace. And maybe it's different when Wentz is there, with some of these deep passes. I mean, Mike Wallace, kind of like, what it was last season with Torrey Smith. Yeah, he's a burner. It's basically what he's going to do. Not a great possession receiver, but he's just going to go deep. But I look at this team, and even when they get Alshon Jeffrey back, I still would like to see an upgrade on the other side of him. I really would. Whether that's Josh Gordon, whether that's Des Bryant, whoever it is, I would still like to see an upgrade over Mike Wallace. And I know he got hurt today, and who knows, maybe the game plan, who knows, maybe he would have had a nice game. Maybe he would have been a difference maker on this team today. Who knows? But I still look at him as a one-trick pony. A go-deep receiver. Doesn't really do much else. I don't know. He's one of those guys you kind of want to have in space. I know, but I don't know. I still would like an upgrade over there. And I look at Josh Gordon. I know he's had a history. And I know that there's always something with him. but he's a talent. And as basically a rental player for the rest of the season, I will take that. I will take that over Mike Wallace, and I will be fine with that for the rest of the season. Again, there's a lot of leaders on this team. He's coming to a different type of situation. There is a leadership group on this team that can kind of take him under the wing and maybe set him right, maybe set him straight. I think it's a chance worth taking. I mean, if this team, in fact, and we know about Howie, we know the aggressiveness that Howie has. During a season, we found that out last season when they traded for Jay Ajayi. This is a team that's not afraid to make moves during a season. And I look at that other side of the ball. When we know we hopefully we'll have Alshon back soon, but then the other side of him, and I still would like that upgrade there. And I believe Josh Gordon can be that guy. I said before I thought Des Bryant can be that guy, and I certainly think Josh Gordon can be that guy. I mean, I think right now Josh Gordon's a better receiver than Des Bryant. He's younger too, so you would have another weapon on this offense, and you get Carson back, and you get Alshon back, and you get Darren Sproles back, and now you bring in Josh Gordon to this, of course, with the tight ends. And by the way, I know they're bringing him along slowly, but I would kind of like to see what we got in Dallas Goedert. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but he's kind of been MIA the first 2 weeks, and part of that is because they really haven't put him in the game plan. I don't know. I understand it is what it is. Maybe it's the offensive scheme's the way it is, but you drafted him. You drafted him in the second round. I mean, you kind of want to see him on the field, see what he can do. I'm just saying. It's particularly when you don't have, Alshon Jeffrey, you don't have Darren Sproles, you're without some weapons. Let's see what the kid can do. Put him in the offense. I don't know. Look, nice game today from Ertz. He had a bounce back from a week ago. I knew he would. He's an all-pro tight end. He's going to be again this season. I mean, look, Foles over 300 yards, a touchdown, no picks. And, the numbers aren't eye-popping, but Foles isn't the reason they lost this game today. I know the offense got off to a slow start, but I look at the mistakes the defense made. I will say this. It's a combined effort here on this loss, okay? The offense made mistakes, the defense made mistakes, and the special teams made mistakes. I mean, Elliott misses a 42-yard field goal that would have cut the deficit to 10, and they get the ball again to start the second half. At that point, that's a big miss. And he has been inconsistent over his career. He's made some big kicks for us, but he's also missed some. And that miss before half, it's almost a mirror image of what that game was last year at Kansas City. It's eerily similar. I think the score was very similar too. I think it was off by like a point or so, the final score, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I saw someone in one of the groups on Facebook put that up there. But a big miss before the half. Momentum. It's so big in this game. And that's a huge, it's points off the board, mistakes, and they had a nice return on the one, and it was a called back because of the penalty, special teams penalty, again, a mistake. Doug, I don't think he's without fault. I understand he is an aggressive coach, and they won a Super Bowl because of it. And take nothing away from him. I don't think he's a bad coach. I know, it's such a week-to-week thing, right? And if there was ever any question about the Philadelphia fans after they win a Super Bowl, what are they going to do? Some of the and look, it's still this grace period right now. We're still happy we won, but it's another season, and we don't like losing. So people are starting to, get on Doug a little bit now, even though he won a Super Bowl. Going for it on 4th and 4 there. Again, I don't mind the aggressiveness. I really don't. But at that part of the field, again, 4th and 4, it's not 4th and 1. It's not 4th and inches. At that point, you punt the ball. And I know the defense was struggling at times, but you say that this is one of the best defensive lines in the game, and you can believe in this defense. You punt the ball there, you pin them deep, and you go after Fitzpatrick in that situation and their offense. And instead, you don't. You go for it. It was a play call. It wasn't a bad play call, but it didn't get the first down. The Bucs got the ball. I believe they scored a touchdown on that next possession. I believe that was the only points they scored in the second half, was off that, not getting it on fourth down, giving them a shorter field, and they got a touchdown off of it. And that touchdown may not have happened if you punt the ball. Again, I will never question Doug's aggressiveness. It won us a Super Bowl. I think it's great. I would much rather have an aggressive coach than a non-aggressive coach than, okay, we're just going to punt all the time. Okay? I'm not saying that, but there are times where a punt isn't a bad thing. And by the way, hey, for all this negativity, okay, Donnie Jones was a very important part to this team over the years. And we have a good punter here, a young punter in Johnson who had a nice game today. Give him credit. I know there's been a lot of, negativity after this game, but the punter looked pretty good, okay? You should have used him on that 4th and 4, okay, Doug? But anyhow, look, there's enough blame to go around. At the end of the day, again, tip the hat. I'm not wearing a hat today, one of the rare times, but tip the hat to the Buc fans out there, the Bucs Nation. You guys got to win, okay? First career loss by Nick Foles at Tampa, so as an Eagle. So it had to happen sooner or later, I guess. But anyhow, congrats to your team. They played well. They earned that win. It wasn't like some cheap kind of thing happened or whatever. They earned that win. They played from start to finish, and they earned it. And then Fitzpatrick setting that record, again, 400-plus yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 2 straight weeks. It's never been done to start a season by a quarterback until today. Unfortunately, the Eagles, for a while there, it's like anything that, someone's going to set a record, it always seemed to happen against the Eagles, right? But anyhow, again, it's week 2. It's 1-1. I'm not going to, jump off a bridge here or something. It's disappointing. I'm disappointed with how it's seemingly unprepared they were, which is surprising because this team has been very prepared every week for games. And I do believe they'll get back to it this week 3 against Indy. It's not going to be the easy game. Andrew Luck, hey, look, he's a good quarterback, and we're going to go up against him. They have some weapons there on offense like T.Y. Hilton. The double moves with Jalen Mills, I'm worried about. I think we're all going to be sitting on the edge of our seats every time we see that this season with him covering. He's good when he's good, but he gets burned a lot. I mean, he just does. Defensive line next week. Get some, again, pressure. You're gonna talk this talk. You're gonna be building your build up, and rightfully so. This is a very talented defensive line. But if you're going to come into these games and saying how, we're going to be the different, we're a difference-making defensive line, you got to do it. You got to get the pressure on the quarterback. You got to get those sacks, get those turnovers. They were really good against Atlanta, not so much today. So they got to get back to being that dominant D-line that we know and we love around here, and hopefully, that comes back in week 3 against the Colts. So that's going to do it for now. Usually, go along with these vids. But Eagles go down 27-21. They're 1-1 on the season, like they were last season. And again, we know how last season went the rest of the way. So hopefully we can do that again this season. Hopefully we get some of our horses back from injury. Carson, Alshon Jeffrey, Darren Sproles and company. And hopefully Peters isn't out for a prolonged period of time. And then Howie, hey, I mean, there's an opportunity here. The Browns release Josh Gordon tomorrow, or if it wasn't tonight, tomorrow, or whatever it is, go out and get him. Make it happen, because they need an upgrade at receiver. Even with the return of Alshon Jeffrey, I still feel that this team still needs, and I know they won a Super Bowl last year with what they had, but there's an opportunity to get a very talented, albeit troubled at times in his career, but talented wide receiver like Josh Gordon. Go out and make it happen. You know, and if not Josh, maybe Dez or someone. There has to be an upgrade made. There has to. You can't just bank on Carson Wentz coming back and everything's gonna, flip the switch. It doesn't always work that way, but you gotta keep giving this guy weapons. Keep giving weapons to this team. The more weapons you have, the more chances you have of making plays. Some of these plays that we see this team not making. Okay, you gotta make those plays, and I think there's an upgrade needed at the wide receiver position on the other side of Alshon Jeffrey. So we'll see. Anyhow, that's just my 2 cents in all this. Eagles lose 27-21, 1-1. Hopefully we get back to the winning ways in week 3 at home against Indy. Look, this is one of the best home field advantages in the league. Let's not lose this, okay? Let's continue to make it one of the best home field advantages, one of the toughest places to play in this league is right here in South Philly at Lincoln Financial Field. And let's continue that in week 3. Bounce back after a tough one today against Tampa. Let's get a win against the Colts at home in week 3. Let's get some guys back. Let's start getting healthy. Get a nice addition there at the wide receiver position and move on. Let's roll. Let's get back to that winning thing. It was so fun for a while, okay? All right, everyone. All right, Eagles Nation. Well, tough one today, I know. But go Birds as always. Let's bounce back and beat those Colts in week 3. I'll be back in week 3. We'll hopefully talk about a victory then. All right, everyone. Take care.